Hi again. Let's continue talking about Flexbox and React Native. And in the last video, we created kind of a row of temperatures, right? That might be a daily forecast for kind of a mock-up of a weather app, right? And we'll add some more features to this. Maybe we'll go out on the internet and really get the weather data. Um, but for right now, let's try and work out this area, right? And what we want to do is we want to recreate what we have here, where we have the day of the week on top and the temperature here. And we can do that in app.js, but very quickly our app.js is getting really pretty long. I mean, this doesn't look that long, but you know what? It can be shorter, and shorter is kind of better for us usually, right? So what we'd like to do is organize our code into short little snippets and make it more reusable too. Here, we're actually kind of duplicating the same thing. So each one of these represents a daily forecast, right? And we've got a copy of each one of these. So why don't we make a daily forecast object that we can use in place of the text object here, and it can contain the text and the styles, right? So let's do that. I'm going to go up to my app here. You might want to arrange this in folders. I'm going to just put this in the folder here just to be quick and simple. And we can, maybe I'll rearrange them later, but I'll make a new file, and I'll call this daily. Actually, let me make it lowercase. I'm going to call it daily forecast.js, right? So it'll be daily forecast.js. Here's my file. I've got it there in my file editor underneath app. And how do you make a component? Well, let's start by importing React. Okay. In the default file, they use React.component to extend a component class. So they're making an app component and they're extending React.component, right? So component actually is part of the React object. When we create this new daily forecast, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to import component as a separate variable, and then we'll get that from React. And you'll see that I can use this also, right? So I'll use this in place of React.component. I'll just use component by itself, right? You'll see that in a moment. So I'm going to import mine this way, and then we'll also need to import React Native. So I'll just put the curly braces, and then I'll say from React Native, and in here I'll name the component elements that I want. So I want a view, and I want the text item. And then we should get the style sheet too. So I'll say style sheet, and there we go. So now what we'll do is we'll say, export default class daily forecast. And this needs to extend, and then here's where I'll use this component instead of React dot component, right? So I'll put that there. And now what we want to do is we want to create a render method. So every component should implement a render method, and that render method must return JSX, right? So I'll set this up like this. I'll define a render method, which is just a function on our class. And then in here, I'll use the parentheses, and then I can make this a multi-line statement. And what I'll do is I'll return a view. And just as a note, JSX expressions must have a top-level node. So there always is a top-level item. I can't return, two views like this, right? So I can't have two of these at the top level, though I could return two views if I put them inside a single view. So if I have a view in here, that's okay, right? Right, so I could have two views in here. And actually what we want to do is we want to have two text fields in here. So that's the reasoning why we're going to have this top level view here, right? Because we need to have a parent element. Okay, so I've got two views. This one will be the temperature, it'll be like 67, and then this one will be like Monday or something, right? Okay, and we'll need a style sheet too. So why don't we say const styles equals style sheet dot create, right? And in here, we'll put the curly braces and define a JavaScript object that will be the style sheet that we use in this component, okay? Okay, great. So let's give this a style up here, and we'll say styles.container. And it's okay for us to reuse the names that are on the style sheet in app, because everything that's in this component, if we don't export it, it stays in this component. It's kind of like, you know, quarantined to this module, right? So we can reuse some of the same names, right? So I'll do that, and then I'll define container, and container will have these styles. It'll be, let's say flex of 1, so that'll set the vertical, make sure it stretches to the top and bottom, and then we'll also say flex direction of column, right? Because I'm trying to, right here, I'm trying to recreate this area. So we'll have the day and the temperature, right? So this will be the day, this will be the temperature, and I want them to stack up vertically, so I'll say flex column. And then we can say, you know, justify content. So how do they align on the column, right? And we'll say that they align with space. Oops, I gotta put that quotes. We'll say space between. So we'll put all the space between the two objects. And then for align items, so how do they align on the cross axis? So justify content says how we arrange them here. Align items is how they arrange across this way. So do they arrange on this side or on the center? So I think they should arrange with align items on the center. So I'll put center down there, right? Okay, so now let's use our component, and then we'll pass some properties in to set these values. So right now it'll just be fixed at Monday and 67 degrees, right? And then we should also put some styles on here to set the font size, right, for each of these. But for right now, let's just import this component and use it. So we're exporting this component, daily forecast, as the default export from this file, daily forecast, right? So what we'll do is we'll go to app.js, and at the top of the page, we'll say import daily forecast, and we'll use the class name, right? And we'll import this from, and when we import from a file that we create, we have to put the / in front and include the path to the item relative to the file that we're in. So since this is in the same folder here, we can do / and that represents the same folder, right? And then the file we want to import is called daily forecast lowercase with hyphen, right? You don't have to include the JS, okay? So that should be this file. And we don't want to use these any longer. And instead, what we'll do is we'll create a set of daily forecast items, right? Like this. So it'll be one daily forecast. This will be another one. There's 4, there's 5. We'll do a 5-day forecast, right? Okay. And let's see, what do I got an error here? Let's see if we can figure this out. So unexpected token expected in, it's in daily forecast on line 4. Let's go check that out. I probably made a mistake on my export here. Oh yes, I made a mistake here. Let's see, what am I missing? What did I do there? I messed up the import. Oh, I said export default. Actually, that looks pretty good. What did I do there? Let me look. Export default. That's correct. What am I missing here? Class. Oh, extends. It's supposed to have an S, right? Sorry about that. So extends with an S. Let's see. Let's refresh this and see if I get it. Oh, there we go, right? So now we can see it says Monday 67. So here you can see these guys are arranged vertically, and we no longer need to style each one of these separately, right? So those forecast styles down here, like we won't need these anymore, and the forecast temperature style, we won't need that here. We can move it into daily forecast, right? So I'm just going to delete these two guys, right? There's our daily forecast now. Wait, actually, you know what? Sorry about that. I guess I need this one for the flex direction row. So let's just delete this last one, right? Okay, now everybody goes across there, and that looks pretty good. And now we can style the day of the week and the temperature, right? So I'll go to the daily forecast.js, and we'll assign a style to each of these two text objects. We'll call this one style equals styles dot day, right? And then we'll call this one styles, or style equals styles dot temp. And down here, we can have a style for each. So we'll say day, colon, is going to use these styles, and temp, colon, we'll use these styles. So we'll say for the temp, let's do font size of 24 and font weight of bold. And for the day, we'll do font size of 18. How about that? Right? Hey, that looks pretty good, right? So we got 18 and 24. So anyway, so thanks for watching. Hopefully that helps you out and gives you some ideas of how you can use this. And we'll talk about more features in the following videos. Okay, so thanks for watching.